This is one polling place in Wake County where some voters waited 4 hours or more to cast their ballots. In this age of COVID concerns, what voters had to say about the experience.
On the first day of early voting in North Carolina, President Trump makes a stop in our state. Coming up, a live report from the event site.
Kamala Harris canceled 3 events today in North Carolina after 2 people associated with the campaign tested positive for COVID-19. But this hasn't stopped voters from coming out to the polls to support her, and they say this was the right decision.
The Triangle's #1 source for news. This is WRAL, coverage you can count on.
Right now at 4 o'clock, some voters have been waiting for hours to cast their ballots on the first day of early voting in North Carolina. Take a look at some of these lines stretched around buildings in some cases. Our team traveled all over the state to document those wait times. We're also checking COVID-19 precautions inside polling locations on a day where we saw the highest number of cases reported in a 24-hour period in North Carolina. Governor Roy Cooper just talked about this in his latest press conference. We'll bring you those details in just a few minutes.
So far today, more than 170,000 people in North Carolina have voted. That's compared to the 166,000 who voted on the first day of voting in 2016. This is time-lapse video from Green Road in Raleigh, where voters waited hours in line. They told us they received their own pen, sanitizer, before dropping their ballots in the box. WRAL is your headquarters for the 2020 election. We have team coverage this afternoon on the visits to North Carolina from members of both presidential campaigns as voters cast their ballots.
One polling place that had wait times stretching more than 5 hours was in Holly Springs, but voters appear to be good-natured about it. WRAL's Brian Mims joins us live at the Hunt Recreation Center to show us how things are going there. Brian?
Lena, they were very good-natured about it. They say they came committed to be here to exercise their civic duty. The line is not nearly as long as it was this morning when it circled this building. Let me just get a sense of how long people have been waiting here. How long have you been in line, sir?
About 3 hours.
3 hours. So the wait time now is about 3 hours. I've heard that from some others in the line here, and people made the best of it, whiling away the time with books and reading emails and bringing along their chairs for comfort. Despite the long wait, they say it was well worth it.
This is the view from Sky 5 at mid-morning. The line of voters surrounded the Hunt Recreation Center. Everyone I could see on the ground had on a mask. Lisa Merritt was among the first in line, showing up at 6:30. It wasn't long before she heard about a ballot tabulator breaking down.
The machine kept kicking out their ballots. And so then somebody came out and told us that the voting machines were down and we could not vote.
She says the delay lasted a little more than an hour. An election official says the machine was replaced.
And once we got inside, everything went smoothly. I got to vote. I'm really excited. There was a great turnout today.
Those I spoke with who had just cast their ballots say they felt safe about the COVID precautions, noting every booth was wiped down after each voter.
Yeah, that was perfect. We were 6 feet apart. And we stood on the markers as we were directed, and everybody had face masks on.
As the day wore on, the sun bore down. Holly Springs town employees set up canopies to provide shade, and they put out chairs. Firefighters gave away bottled water.
I knew it was going to be busy, so I came prepared. I came with the patience and all of that, so, you know. I'm going to wait it out.
Elijah Jackson waited more than 5 hours to reach the voting booth.
Did you think maybe you should come back another day when it's not so long?
To be quite honest, not really. You know, I just wanted to get out here and make sure, you know, we were among the first to do it, and I'm super happy and proud of our decision to do so. It's definitely been a long wait, but if I had to compare it, it's no different than going to Disney World.
Now, a spokesman for the State Board of Elections, Patrick Gannon, says a tabulator malfunction is to be expected on voting days. This sort of thing happens very often, so this wasn't all that unusual. It was fixed rather quickly within an hour to 90 minutes. And the line is still fairly long here, not as bad as it was this morning. The closing time for this polling place and all the others during the week is 7:30. Gerald and Lena.
All right, Brian Mims reporting live in Holly Springs. Thanks so much, Brian. This all coming as today we saw the highest number of COVID-19 cases reported in one day since this pandemic began. 2,532 new cases today. 1,140 people are now in the hospital, which is the 9th day in a row we've seen hospitalizations over 1,000. Tragically, 18 more people died from the virus in North Carolina. In his update this afternoon, Governor Roy Cooper said this is a critical time to keep this under control.
One thing is clear. North Carolinians must be even more vigilant in our effort to prevent the spread of this virus. Complacency will cost lives and hurt our economy. And it's up to every one of us to continue wearing masks, social distancing, and using good judgment.
Some other headlines out of the governor's briefing today. Today is the deadline for parents to apply for relief payment of $335 if they did not file a tax return last year. If you did, it's already been handed out. The governor also announced additional relief for renters who are struggling to make payments.
We still have a little more than 2 months to go until the official start of winter, but today NOAA scientists and forecasters released their winter outlook. Meteorologist Kat Campbell joins us now live with our chances for a snowy winter. Kat, I shudder to say that.
I know, I'm a snow lover. It's not looking good for us snow lovers this year. So here is the forecast for temperatures, and this shows orange and red for most of the southern part of the U.S. and eastern part of the U.S. That means that above normal temperatures are likely from December through February for North Carolina. In terms of our precipitation outlook, drier than normal conditions are expected. But something important to point out here is that we are in the lighter shades of brown, and that means that we are not as confident with this forecast. And one of the reasons behind these trends are because we are in a La Nina year, and that is something that also contributed to such an active hurricane season. Despite the fact that we have warmer and drier conditions expected this winter, that doesn't mean that we can't overlap perfectly and squeeze out a snowstorm this year. NOAA does not release a snowfall forecast, but our team of meteorologists here at WRAL, we work together to get that forecast out. We'll have our snowfall forecast and our winter forecast coming out in November, so be out on the lookout for that. And Gerald, we've got rain moving in tonight. I'll time out when it arrives, coming up in about 10 minutes.
Okay, Kat, we'll see you then. Thank you.
Vice presidential candidate Kamala Harris was set to make 3 appearances in North Carolina today, 1 in Asheville and 2 in Charlotte, but she canceled after 2 people connected with the Biden campaign tested positive for COVID-19. WRAL's Amanda Lamb spoke to voters in Raleigh about this turn of events today. She joins us live now from an early polling location at North Carolina State. Amanda?
Lena, those 2 people, one was a communications director, one was part of her flight crew, a non-staff member. The campaign says she didn't have close contact with them and that she has tested